The biggest conservative leading think tank based in the state of Queensland is the Australian Institute of Progress, a long-time friend of this show. Many of you will know Graham Young, its founder and executive director, from his appearances on The Other Side. Well, Graham put together an interesting thought piece for the Sunshine State's Courier Mail newspaper about the fact that despite the massive confidence of the Liberal National Party in winning the state's next election next month, there does remain a not too insignificant chance that Labor could pull a rabbit out of the hat and hold on to power under its new leader, Stephen Miles, especially since he's become a bit of a fave on social media.
So Tom and I are out with the Bundaberg Holden Club, and what's this one, Tom?
This is a 1973 HQ GTS Premier. This is a perfect car to be in.
And the club members, they're pretty stoked to be getting 20% off their rego?
Absolutely, this is huge. 20% off rego and these special vehicles as well. Makes a big difference for households, for families, but of course for our car clubs as well.
How could you resist? Why don't you just tell us all about how stoked they are to get 20% off their rego, Tom? Huh? How about you tell us about that, mate? Now, Graham Young says this is far from an unlosable election for the LNP. He says the AIP's research shows that the campaign is a handicapped race stacked in Labor's favour because of a big bias in the rules around campaign financing. And this means unions and left-leaning non-government organisations supporting Labor will actually enable the Labor campaign to legally outspend the Liberal National Party by as much as $11 million. More than double. And this affects every state in Australia again because there's similar situations all around the country. These are the sorts of political tricks that the parties play with our elections, not just in Queensland but all over Australia, and we've all got to be really aware of it. While the electoral laws limit the amount of money that political parties and other groups can spend every election, Graham Young says there's a loophole. The rort, he says, is found in a third category of, quote, registered third parties, which are limited in what they can spend, but not in the size of donations. There are currently 29 of these, and 16 of them are unions, plus 3 hard-left NGOs, including GetUp, who together have the potential to spend almost $19 million campaigning effectively for Labor. There are 4 centre and right NGOs registered, of which the AIP itself is one, and 4 industry groups. These are each limited to election expenditure of about $1 million, so the most they can spend is around $8 million. That's $11 million less than the left-wing groups. Now, Graham argues that this will not only mean the LNP will be outspent, but it's also got to gain a huge number of seats to win a majority. They hold 34 of the 92 seats in the Queensland Parliament only. So they need to get 13 more to get an outright majority. They might need more than 53% of the two-party preferred vote to get there. 5 seats are held by the Katters and the Independents, and One Nation may pick up some seats this election cycle too. But Graham says this creates a higher than usual chance of a minority government. And Queensland's Labor Premier Stephen Miles has been running a pretty good campaign, particularly with the young on social media. He's been turning his image around and distancing himself from his extremely unpopular predecessor, Anastasia Palaszczuk. Also, the Labor government has spent more than $2 billion with a B dollars, giving every household in Queensland $1,000 off its electricity bill. People like that. Money that the government doesn't really have to spend, by the way. Not that that's ever stopped a Labor government spending. Public transport is all but free in Queensland, with fares slashed to 50 cents. All of this is blatant vote buying, of course, but the electorate probably don't care. Especially the left-wing brainwashed under-30s who don't understand that they'll have to foot the bill later when they grow up. That ever happens. Graham Young also notes in his article that there are then the inevitable negative personal attacks on Crisafulli and a recent scandal involving a company that he was remotely involved with that may have had some issues. David Crisafulli appears to have made a risky decision to play company doctor after he lost his Townsville seat in 2015, unsuccessfully attempting to rescue a small business. If he can't run a business, how can he run a state? Might be a potent attack line. Oh dear. Now all this has implications far beyond Queensland because so many other states and federally, the Liberal Party have been playing their usual small target strategy in Queensland, which means be mostly invisible. Don't come out too strong on any controversial issues. Just hopefully let the other team lose and we'll win by default. So the game is do not offend anyone. Be as bland as a Big Mac and you'll be popular by being unoffensive to anyone. It worked for McDonald's for a while. But this strategy has failed all across the country for the Liberals, which is why we've had non-Liberal governments except Tasmania. Now we have the Northern Territory. But that was the country Liberal Party, and they ran a good, strong campaign. But in Queensland, it was thought that things were different. The LNP strategists felt that Labor was so unpopular that they couldn't possibly lose. So the best thing was just to make no waves and go with the small target thing. Well, we're coming to you from Queensland, and our panellists today are good northern chaps. Guys, what do you think about the election campaign so far? We are 5 weeks out. Are people warming to Stephen Miles, do you think, Graham?
I don't know. I'm not really on social media, but I do see that I do a little bit and watch it. And I reckon they're outspending the LNP in that area probably 10, 15, 20 to 1.
Wow.
I mean, it's just huge. And a lot of it's seen, and you've got these third-party providers. In fact, I've actually set one up called Local Action Australia, and we're going to be involved mainly in the north, in the Labor seats, because the issues that aren't being addressed, that are the major ones up there, youth crime, health, education and cost of living, and also the big sleeper is the coal royalties. It's got everyone a nice $1,000 off their power bill. But up north, it really resonates because the people up there aren't dummies. They can see they're not going to have a coal industry, and Queensland's second biggest fund source is going to disappear. And what are their kids going to be doing? Where are they going to be working? So this is a sleeper issue.
Yeah, well, let me just skip to Rob, because Rob, you are the youngest in this panel. You're the millennial here. How do you feel? I mean, do you think that people, millennial and younger, Gen Z, do you think that they get the fact that they're the ones ultimately that are going to be paying for these freebies that they're getting now off the electricity bill, off the public transport? Do kids in Australia actually realise that they're the ones that pay for these Labor and Green initiatives further down the track when they're older?
Due to an incredibly inept education system, no, I don't think they do. I've talked many times, I think a lot of people don't see the causality between the policies that they're being offered and the hardships in the future. We've spoken a lot about the vastly under replacement rate birth rates. In the younger generations, younger than me, I hear that, relationships between men and women are shot, economic opportunities are shot, buying a house is very difficult. And so, like I said, it seems that the left, Labor are very happy to come out with a positive vision and almost enforce that. They're happy to use government power to rule. Like you said, Christopherly has no personality. He's very flat and is just trying to, not do anything and win by default. I don't think that's a given. And I think all conservative parties, if they want to be relevant, need to come out with some positive vision. And Graham touched on a few great points there. People want to be safe. So coming out on crime would be a big one. People want economic opportunities. Economic opportunities flow down to successful relationships, and that flows down to buying a home and then having children. These are all very potent things that the younger generations are suffering with, and that's ripe for picking politically.
Christopher has come out quite strongly on crime because it's one issue that doesn't really have that woke element to it that he's so terrified of, right? This is the perennial problem, as Graham was saying, and you were saying earlier, Scott, too, that, they're just terrified. They let Labor, they let the left set the agenda, and then they walk right into it every time, and they play defensive. Oh no, we don't want to be seen as being blah, 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 right? Scott, it's almost as if when I hear Rob sort of outlining all the things that sort of are impacting young people, it all seems to fit together. It feels almost deliberate.
Look, there's no question that this particular election campaign by the LNP in Queensland is the most small target election strategy I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that you give the entire floor to the Labor Party. And everybody knows, I would say the mood in Queensland is clear. They're done with this Labor government and they want to get rid of them. And of course you then get someone like Stephen Miles shamelessly giving away other people's money. This, 20%, it's not his money to say 20% of registration is not required to be paid.
No.
It's not his money to say we're going to reduce bus fares to 50 cents, for a fare. Everyone ought know, even the young people ought understand that it can't possibly cost 50 cents for someone to travel on the bus.
No.
There's a bigger cost, and to Rob's point, no chance do the young understand that this is impacting them and will cost them in the long run.
No, they'll still vote Green, they'll still vote Labor. They forget, they don't realise they're the ones paying the bill eventually further down the track. So why would any government be incentivised to do anything fiscally responsible? Just spend all the money and get re-elected.
People like us, Damien, are saying, really, for your own sake, please, they're taking money out of your pocket and your kids.
Your future.
Your future.
Yeah, great.
Bigger point again. Once you get north of about Bundaberg, it's around about there, probably not even south of there, everybody up there is aware of the 50-cent fees that they're not getting. Right? No one in Cairns gets a 50-cent fee, or anywhere else in Queensland.
Is that right? I thought it was every regional city.
Well,
No.
maybe, but they don't see it that way. And the big problem...
Well, it's not in the remote areas, right? There's no benefit, really.
The problem that Christopher's made is he agreed with all the stuff. So he's sending a message to his electors there that we'll go along with anything that Labor says for the city here, because we don't want to lose votes here, and we don't care about the North. Now, the Labor Party probably don't care that much about the North, but Christopher should be, because Katter, I believe Katter and One Nation are going to pick up seats.
Right. It's going to be a very interesting election to watch for the whole country, really, this one. I mean, it really is just, it will be telling as anything.
It comes down to power, I think, a lot of the time. If the left attacks you, often the effects on people's lives do go beyond screeching, and being called names. People have real world effects. And so, the whole conservative side of the nation really needs to shore up every avenue of power so that they can actually just have the fight and not be destroyed. Like why do people have their businesses affected? Why do people have social, and institutional opportunities affected when the left screeches at them over a policy they don't like? You need to look at this weakness of the whole system from top to bottom so that you can actually say, well, this is our values, this is our positive vision, this is what we want to fight for. And so, like you said, it seems like Conservatives right across the board are just scared. Why are we so scared? And let's fix what we perceive to be that lack of power that they're scared of.
Private internet access is terrific. With all the big government clampdown on online speech lately, you are taking a big risk if you don't have a VPN. That's a virtual private network. And it blocks spying eyes in big government or big corporate from seeing your IP address and hacking into your data. Now, it's super easy and cheap to set it up. It's not technical, even I could do it. And even if you already have a VPN, you should consider switching to these guys, because since I have had zero reduction in my internet speeds, which was a bit of a problem with the one I was using before. And I don't even have to think about this one. It's just on automatically whenever I turn on my computer. And even better news is that the other side has secured a special deal for you, which will get you set up for 83% off the usual price and with 4 months free. And get this, that brings the price down to less than $3 a month. It is absolutely amazing. So jump on it now, sign up to our special deal and help support us by supporting our sponsors. piavpn.com/otherside. piavpn.com/otherside. If you like that clip, there's more where that came from in our full show, The Other Side. You can watch it right here, the latest episode. And please subscribe to our channel by pressing the subscribe button right here or down here. And remember to click that notification bell too. It all helps. Join us and become part of The Other Side.